Hi everyone, I'm Nick Olivo, and today we're looking at how to set up an encounter in Roll20. So if you're a brand new GM to Roll20, this video is going to show you where to get artwork for battle maps, how to set up those maps in Roll20, where to get artwork for your creature tokens, and how to set up those creature tokens on your newly made map. Before we dive in, I'd just like to thank Roll20 for sponsoring this video. So let's start out with where to find art for your maps. And the first place you can look is the Roll20 Marketplace. If you come down here and tick the All Maps box in the search bar, you'll see a list of just tons and tons of maps that you can come through here and purchase, which is awesome. But you can also head out to this subreddit called Battle Maps. I'll put a link down in the video description. And a lot of creators will place samples of their work out here for free that you can use. So you can come through here, see if you find something you like, and then if it is an artist that you really appreciate, you can go ahead and support them on Patreon or purchase their maps or stuff like that. You can, of course, also make your own maps using tools like Dungeon Scrawl or Dungeon Alchemist. And that's actually what I've done, is I created my own map in Dungeon Alchemist, and I'm going to pull that into Roll20. So let's see how we set that up. So here I am inside a brand new game. I'm going to click on this page toolbar button right here, and I'm going to click Add a Page to set up a new page, and I'm going to call that page Cave Fight. And then I'm going to click on the page to make it active. Okay, so the Cave Fight page is now active because it's highlighted in pink here, and I'm going to close the page toolbar window. Okay, so now we're on a blank screen, and Roll20 is made up of layers, just like what you have with image editing tools like Photoshop or Illustrator or things like that. So the layers are listed out down here. The first one is the token layer. This is where you put all of your creatures and your player characters. The GM layer is where you put things that you want hidden until you're ready to reveal them. And then there's the map layer, which is where you store your maps. Now there is also this lighting layer, but that's only available to Plus and Pro subscribers, and that's not going to be part of anything we talk about in today's video. All right, so we want to put our map on the map layer. So we're going to click on the map layer button right here. That'll make it live. And now I can actually just take my image that I've created and I can just drag it right from my Windows Explorer window here onto the Roll20 page. So I'll just drop that there. And as I do, it uploads the image and it places the image on my map. Okay, now you'll notice that the image is not scaled properly. It's kind of off to the side. So what we want to do is change the settings here so that the map is properly positioned on the page. So the first thing I'm going to do with that is go back to the image itself, and I'm going to right click on the image file and go Properties. And I want to look at the details here. I want to see how big this image is. And you can see here the dimensions. This image is 1584 by 1584 pixels. Okay, so just keep that in mind for a minute. So now what we're going to do is go back to the page toolbar, and we're going to click on this little settings cog for our Cave Fight page. And what I'm going to do is change the size, the height and the width to match the size of my image. So our image was 1584 pixels tall and wide. So we're just going to put that in and then save settings. And now that makes the page size the same as the image size. And now what we can do is drag the map into frame so it's correct. And what I like to do is just align the top left corner here. And once you've done that with the page at the right size, you're pretty much done. Now the map is the right size and it's centered properly and it looks pretty good. Now just one other thing I want to mention about maps, you'll notice the map has a grid automatically applied to it. We can change some of the settings for that as well if we'd like. Let's go back to the page toolbar, back to the settings cog. And if we want to turn off the grid completely, we can just flip this switch right here. And now you can see the grid is gone. Additionally, I can also change the grid to be hex instead of squares, or I can change its opacity. So if I want to just make the grid a little fainter, I can do that. I can adjust this right here, and then the grid gets a little bit dimmer, as you can see here. And I kind of like that better. It still lets my players see the grid. It's still apparent, but it's not quite so blatantly screaming, hey, I'm a grid. So now that our map is set up, let's put some monsters on it. I'm going to switch over to the token layer by clicking on its button right here. And then I want to pull a goblin out onto the battlefield. So I'm going to go over to the toolbar on the right in Roll20, and I'm going to click on this one right here that looks like a library. This is your compendium. The compendium stores resources about spells, items, and monsters for whatever game system you're playing. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to search for a goblin. And here we go, my monsters goblin section here. I'm just going to drag that right onto my battle map. That pulls up the goblin's character sheet so we can check that out. This all looks good. And then here is our current token for our goblin. Real quick aside here, in this video, I'm using the D&D 5th edition system reference document monsters. These are freely available to anybody who uses Roll20, but they do not have artwork associated with them, as you can see here. If instead you're using a paid source of monsters, like you've purchased the Monster Manual or Mordenkainen's or Flea Mortals or something like that, then those monsters will automatically have artwork associated with them, and they'll also have their token stat blocks set up properly, which I'll show you in a few minutes. But just know that if you are using a paid source of monsters, you don't have to do what I'm about to show next, but if you are using the free SRD, this video will help you get things set up. So let's start out by getting an image for our goblin. So what I'm going to do is go out to Pixabay here. This is a source of royalty-free images that you can grab. I'll put a link to this down in the video description. And I've already started my search for goblins. I kind of like this guy right here. So what I'm going to do is download this image. I'll download it as a JPEG. And we say thank you to Mystic Arts Design for creating this. And now that the image is downloaded, we want to turn it into a token. So for that, I'm going to go out to this site, Token Stamp 2, again, link down in the video description, and I'm going to take the image that we just downloaded, and I'm going to drag it onto the canvas right here. And now I can resize this, make it a little bit bigger, so I get that nice kind of headshot of the goblin. I think that looks good. I can adjust the borders here. I kind of like this border style a little better. You can see this is what it's going to look like when all is said and done. And now I can download this token. All right, great. So let's jump back to our Roll20 game, and I'm going to take that token image that we just downloaded, and I'm going to drag it onto my battlefield. So now let's scale this down, make it so it's 1 square big, and now what we want to do is connect this token to our goblin's character sheet here in our game. So the way we're going to do that is by double-clicking on the token itself, and we're going to say this represents character goblin. And if you want to show the name of the creature to your players, you turn on the nameplate and player permissions C, and then they'll be able to see the nameplate there. And now we also want to set up the bars of our token. So I want to populate these bubbles here with values from the goblin's character sheet. I want bar 1 to be its HP, and we'll say it's currently at 7 out of 7. I want bar 2 to be its AC, but we're not going to select this AC. This AC is only for player characters. When you're working with monsters that use the NPC character sheet, like goblins or dragons or giants, what you want to select instead is called NPC AC. So I'm going to scroll through this list here until I get to NPC AC and select that. So here we go. There's my NPC AC. That's 15, and the bubble is populated. Okay, so now I'll save settings. So let's drag another goblin onto the battlefield. And as I do that, you'll see, hey, it kept the generic token and my bubble settings aren't here. So what's going on with that? Well, what we need to do next is we need to open up this again, and we need to say update default token. What that's going to do is take the token that's currently selected and make that the default token for the goblin character sheet. So let's say update default token here, save settings, and now when we drag another goblin out, we get the correct token and the bubbles are set up properly. Now there is one other change that we need to make. If you watch right now, if I adjust this goblin's HP, if I reduce it by 2, then both this goblin and this goblin's HP reduced by 2. And that's not the behavior we want. So why is that happening? Well, let's open up the goblin's token again. Right now, all the goblin tokens are connected to the same goblin character sheet, which means that when we update the HP of one token, it updates the HP on the goblin's character sheet, and then this token over here, which is also reading from that sheet, sets its HP to the same value. So the way that we fix that is after you get this set up so that the goblin has the appropriate amount of hit points, remove this attribute here, set it to none. And now the goblin's going to have 7 out of 7 hit points to start with. This is not connected to the character sheet. And so if we say update default token now and save settings, when we drag new goblins out, and I'll delete this old one here. Let's put a couple more goblins onto the battlefield. Boom, boom. If I come in here and I reduce this guy's HP by 5, only his HP gets updated. So we just want to unlink the HP attribute after we've got the initial value set up properly. Okay, so let's get this guy back up to 7, and let's remove these generic icons from the battlefield, and now we've got ourselves a cave populated with some goblins that we're ready to send our players into. One final thing to mention is that the changes we made to the goblins character sheet only apply to this specific game. We didn't edit the compendium. You don't actually have the ability to do that. So if you create a new game and drag a goblin out from the compendium in that new game, then you will get the generic icon again, and you'll need to recreate the goblin's token like we did here today. So there you have it, setting up a new encounter in Roll20. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a like and consider subscribing. And until next time, folks, have a great day.